Good morning, Pokemon fans, and welcome back to Pokemon Facts and Trivia, episode 24. Fact number 1, Ash's Hat. Early concept art for the Pokemon anime reveals that Ash's hat went through many different design phases before it eventually reached the iconic stylized L logo that we all know today. As seen here, in the beginning, Ash's hat began looking identical to Red's hat from the Generation 1 games. Soon afterward, Ash's hat had a lightning bolt logo similar to the marks on his face. Other miscellaneous designs were considered as well. In the early Best Wishes series, the animators included an allusion to Ash's original hat by using a very similar animation for whenever Ash would catch a Pokemon. This was done to reflect how Ash's character was reset during Best Wishes as he traveled to a region that he knew very little about. Fact number 2, the PokeNav. In Pokemon Emerald version, the player cannot call Scott while he's at the Battle Frontier because the PokeNav claims that he is out of the service area. However, if you stand in the Battle Frontier, you'll still be able to call any other trainer in the Hoenn region because... logic! In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the PokeNav is upgraded to the PokeNav Plus and includes a new feature called DexNav. The DexNav has the ability to scan Pokemon in the overworld and register them to the Pokedex. However, every Pokemon you can scan can be found in the wild, with the exception of Beautifly near Petalburg City and Lucario at the Battle Resort. Chaining for shiny Pokemon also works differently on the DexNav than it does with other chaining methods. When chaining with the DexNav, your odds of finding a shiny Pokemon never go up, but you do start with the decent odds of 1 in 500. If you have a shiny charm in your bag, then your odds of finding a shiny Pokemon will always be 1 in 200. In the Trainer's Eyes feature in the PokeNav Plus, there are several unused lines of text for non-existent trainers due to the removal of female psychics and female triathletes in Gen 6. Lastly, for any newer Pokemon fans, the design of the PokeNav Plus is supposed to be a recreation of the Game Boy Advance SP, while the new Hoenn Pokedex is a recreation of the Game Boy Advance, the two consoles that the original Ruby and Sapphire games appeared on. Fact number 3, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky Anime Specials. In the first anime special for Explorers of Time and Darkness, Piplup and Chimchar take up a job to go to Labyrinth Cave and defeat a Gabite, although this dungeon never appeared in the game's main storyline. However, Japanese audiences were soon able to download the dungeon and explore it for themselves. All other countries wouldn't be able to explore this dungeon until Explorers of Sky was released a year later in 2009, where you could get the dungeon from Spindus Cafe. Shortly after the first anime special was released, a second Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky special was made, which involved Piplup, Chimchar, and Grovyle heading towards the Hidden Land. After this, there was supposed to be a third Mystery Dungeon special release, which would focus on Grovyle and Dusknoir being back in the future, similar to the special episode In the Future of Darkness from Explorers of Sky. It was cancelled for unknown reasons. Fact number 4, the Kimono Girls. Although the Kimono Girls already possessed Japanese names in the Japanese versions of Gold and Silver, they were still given different Japanese names in games outside Japan. The reason for this is unknown. In the anime, the Kimono Girls use apricorn Pokeballs to contain their evolutions. However, in all Generation 2 games, this is impossible to do, since Eevee is a gift Pokemon. Sakura, a younger Kimono Girl in the anime, is seen in both Gold and Silver and their remakes. Due to the renaming of the characters that I mentioned earlier, she is known as Sayo in both Gold and Silver and their remakes. In the original Gold and Silver, she uses an Espeon like in the anime, but in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, her Pokemon is Jolteon instead. Actually, for unknown reasons, 3 of the Kimono Girls swapped their signature Pokemon in the remakes. Only Zuki and Kuni's partners remained the same. Zuki uses Umbreon while Kuni uses Vaporeon. This was most likely an error and not an intentional switch. Fact number 5, James. In Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, a woman in Area 4 of Mount Battle will make a reference to James and his team from the Advanced Generation series in the anime, as she says she is looking for someone who is the same Pokemon as her. The 2 Pokemon she uses are Chimecho and Cacnea. James has never been seen battling any of his Pokemon prior to catching them. It's also been nearly 13 years since the last time James evolved a Pokemon in the anime, as the last time he did, it was in the Season 5 episode, Here's Looking at You Elekid. However, it was an illegal evolution, as James's second Weepin' Bell evolved into a Victory Bell without the use of a Leaf Stone. This means that James's last legal evolution was his Weezing in the episode Dig Those Diglett, which aired about 18 years ago. James was originally voiced by Ted Lewis until episode 8, however Lewis had to leave the studio temporarily to do theater work. Eric Stewart temporarily took over for Lewis, but by the time Lewis returned, the dubbing team had realized that Team Rocket was meant to be more comical than serious. As a result, Eric Stewart became James's full-time voice actor due to his voice being more fitting for the character. Since Ted Lewis left before dubbing for the episode Path to the Pokemon League was completed, James's voice actually changed to Stewart's midway through the episode. This is one of the few times this has ever happened in the anime.